Cape Canaveral right now. There we go, where the Artemis 2 mission is slated to lift off this evening, as we've been mentioning throughout this newscast.
The 4-astronaut crew isn't the only thing aboard that rocket. There's also technology built in Connecticut.
Yeah, how about that? News 8's Mike Cerulli has been following this. He has a look at the critical components from our state.
When the Artemis crew takes off tonight, they'll be relying on engineering from dozens of Connecticut companies, including Ensign Bickford here in Simsbury. These parts are on board that rocket right now, and will help carry Americans to the moon and back for the first time in decades.
This is an amazing event. This is something that, we should all be proud of.
Pride runs as deep as the history here at Ensign Bickford. Founded in 1836 to make fuses for mining explosives, the company still makes things that go boom, only on a much more precise scale. Cord like this snakes throughout the Space Launch System, or SLS, that's awaiting blastoff. The cord helps carry signals that tell the SLS when to initiate events like the separation of its stages. It's a careful process, and the cord needs to be well protected.
This is what that final cord looks like after the Kevlar and stainless steel wire braids are braided over it. There's always a heightened sense of, ownership and responsibility anytime we're dealing with this type of product, for sure.
The company's products play a role in all phases of the Artemis mission. Those giant white rocket boosters attached to the side of the main rocket need to fire up on time. This detonator makes it happen.
They have to start up first before this rocket's even going to get going. So they start it first, so we make components that make that happen.
If anything goes wrong, a part like this one, which is actually 10 feet long on the SLS, is crucial for the abort system. The hope is to never need it.
We want it to just be along for the ride, and then, we've done the right thing, and everybody's safe.
After liftoff, the rocket will begin shedding its boosters, and eventually massive protective metal panels will fall away, lightening the load for the long journey. Ensign Bickford's explosive joint makes that happen.
People in Connecticut that want to see this and see that what we do and, what we're proud of, those are the types of events that they'll see.
On the return trip, even more separations will happen. The tiny crew capsule is the part that brings the astronauts back to Earth. But first, a part built by Ensign Bickford needs to make sure the service module detaches.
At that point in time, the crew module separates from the service module and is now re-entering Earth's atmosphere.
Countless hours of work have gone into perfecting these parts, and now it's go time.
Everybody at this facility is like on the edge of their seat and can't wait to see this thing launch.
And I did ask the folks that work here if they plan on watching the launch all together. They said most of them are going to watch from home with a lot of excitement. But as we mentioned, these parts are critical throughout the space flight, so the job's not done until splashdown. In Simsbury, Mike Cerulli, News 8.
I want to take a live look back now at Kennedy Space Center. All eyes on this afternoon, because in about 2 hours, a group of astronauts will blast off towards the moon for the first time in more than 50 years. And we have some local connections to tonight's Artemis 2 mission.
We do. Storm tracker meteorologist Anthony Carpino joins us live in Simsbury. Now, Anthony, you're very excited to tell us about this local connection.
Hey there, guys. Yes, no, I think I've been talking to you, Kevin, for the last couple of days about this story. I'm really excited to bring this to you guys. I'm here at Ensign Bickford in Simsbury. I'm joined by with Lisa Brown here. Lisa, thanks so much for chatting with us. Absolutely. This business has been centered in Simsbury for more than 100 years, and you guys have been just contributing to this program for a while as well.
Correct. Yeah, we have been here for 190 years. We're celebrating that anniversary this year, which is a monumental achievement for us as a business. I also think it says something about who we are as a supplier to our customers that are specifically involved in the Artemis 2 mission today. Significant heritage and trust.
And you guys have more than one component that's a part of this mission. You guys are on several parts of the Artemis mission here. It's not just one thing.
Correct. We have several components on the SLS, the rocket, this space launch system. We also have several components on the Orion crew capsule where the astronauts will be.
And if you could just kind of put it into a nutshell for folks, what exactly you guys have that kind of goes out on the rocket?
Sure. We do a significant amount of initiation and separation events on the rocket, all critical to mission success and also crew safety. And so for folks watching the launch later this evening, one key event that you'll be able to see at the beginning of the mission is the ignition of the solid rocket motors. Our products are responsible for that ignition so that the rocket can begin its mission successfully.
So when the rocket actually launches, that is because of what is being built here in Simsbury.
Correct.
That is just incredible to see. So to get off the ground, you guys, it is off because of you guys.
Correct. We're a significant part of that subsystem. Obviously, there are a lot of other suppliers in Connecticut or in other parts of the United States who are also part of that significant event, but we are very proud of that.
That's awesome. Lisa, thanks so much for joining us today, guys. Sure. The rocket is still scheduled for launch at 6:24 from Cape Canaveral, and we're going to be glued, at least I will be, glued to the TVs later on tonight. Make sure you check it out. You can watch that on the NASA YouTube channels as well. For now, here in Simsbury, I'm Anthony Carpino, NBC Connecticut News. Guys, back to you.
Anthony, amazing to think that a company locally that's been around before the automobile was invented will help a lunar mission. Just for perspective.
Always a Connecticut connection. I love that, Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony, thank you
for joining us this evening for the news at 6. I'm Keisha Grant.
And I'm Mike Heideck. The countdown is on for NASA's first moon mission in more than 50 years. We're less than a half an hour away from the Artemis 2 space launch. And it turns out Connecticut played a role in this historic moment. As we've done in many missions past, Governor Lamont says more than 70 Connecticut companies contributed to the Artemis 2 mission.
Storm Tracker meteorologist Anthony Carpino begins our team coverage live outside one of those companies in Simsbury. Anthony, we love when there's a Connecticut connection.
Hey there, Mike. Hey there, Keisha. Yeah, there is always a Connecticut connection. And, there's always a connection when we're talking about space and aerospace. So I'm outside of Ensign Bickford, which has been a staple in the Simsbury community for 190 years. This year they're celebrating 190 years. That's pretty incredible. And they make so many components that end up going into the rocket and the mission for Artemis. Now they have a dozen of products that are mission critical, both to the rocket itself, the SLS rocket, and the Orion spacecraft. Now, when the rocket launches, it will be because of the Ensign parts igniting those engines. When the rocket reaches space and we see stage separation, that will also be because of Ensign's products there. So truly incredible. Something that's so small, and the size of those engines on the boosters and stuff, you get this one little tiny piece.
Yeah, this one little thing does such
goes to it all.
Throughout the vehicle, there are dozens of explosive events that happen, and these detonation transfer lines transfer signals throughout the entire vehicle.
We need to test for shock and shaking, so we do all that in-house. And we do it at a much higher level.
SLS and the Orion vehicles, there are hundreds of our FCDCA transfer lines, anywhere from 13 inches long to 100 feet long.
As happens in other missions like this, Connecticut plays a huge role in history. Many space missions before, companies here have done it, and the governor says this time around 70 Connecticut companies contributed to this mission.
I saw that stat. Yeah. It was pretty wild today. Storm Tracker meteorologist Anthony Carpino went to one of those companies in Simsbury and has more.
Well, it's an exciting time for NASA, the nation, and for Connecticut. And Ensign Bickford has been here for 190 years in Simsbury. Something that's so small, and the size of those engines on the boosters and stuff, you get this one little tiny piece.
Yeah, this one little thing does such
goes to it all.
work.
Throughout the vehicle, there are dozens of explosive events that happen, and these detonation transfer lines transfer signals throughout the entire vehicle.
We need to test for shock and shaking, so we do all that in-house. And we do it at a much higher level.
SLS and the Orion vehicles, there are hundreds of our FCDCA transfer lines, anywhere from 13 inches long to 100 feet long.
They have over a dozen products that are mission critical to the SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft. When the rocket launches, it will be because of an Ensign part igniting the engines. When the rocket reaches space and we have stage separation, it will also be because of Ensign. And you can watch more live updates about the Artemis mission by going to nasa.gov. Here in Simsbury, I'm Anthony Carpino, NBC Connecticut.
Steve Glazier, we thank you so much for your insight as a scientist on this moment that we watched today. Steve, it turns out that Connecticut played a role in this historic moment. Governor Lamont says more than 70 local businesses actually contributed to the mission.
When I heard that stat, I was surprised.
Yeah,
but
it's impressive.
We want to take you to one of those businesses with storm tracker meteorologist Anthony Carpino. He went to Simsbury and has more.
Well, it's an exciting time for NASA, the nation, and for Connecticut. And Ensign Bickford has been here for 190 years in Simsbury.
Something that's so small, and the size of those engines on the boosters and stuff, you get this one little tiny piece.
Yeah, this one
that
little thing like does such
goes to it all.
work.
Throughout the vehicle, there are dozens of explosive events that happen, and these detonation transfer lines transfer signals throughout the entire vehicle.
We need to test for shock and shaking, so we do all that in-house, and we do it at a much higher level.
SLS and the Orion vehicles, there are hundreds of our FCDCA transfer lines, anywhere from 13 inches long to 100 feet long.
They have over a dozen products that are mission critical to the SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft. When the rocket launches, it will be because of an Ensign part igniting the engines. When the rocket reaches space and we have stage separation, it will also be because of Ensign. And you can watch more live updates about the Artemis mission by going to nasa.gov. Here in Simsbury, I'm Anthony Carpino, NBC Connecticut News.
And all new here at 4:30, the Artemis 2 mission launches in just a couple of hours. And from tiny life-saving pieces of metal to helping ignite the rockets that launch them into space, dozens of Connecticut companies have a hand in today's launch. Your reporter Owen Kingsley shows us how two in particular are helping send mankind back to the moon.
One is red and one is blue. They're small enough to fit in the palm of your hand and critical enough to save a life. You won't see them, but they are vital to the suits of the 4 astronauts launching into space. These pieces connect their suits with the hoses that provide them air to breathe. They were built in this small facility tucked away in Milford. I imagine every bit of engineering in this feat is important, but this is a critical piece.
Yeah, you would be surprised at the level of detail that goes into even such a small component because it cannot fail, obviously.
Although the astronauts on Artemis 2 are not landing on the moon or leaving their spacecraft, their suits and these pieces will keep them alive in an emergency.
If something happens to the capsule, if they lose pressure, these suits are their primary life support mechanism.
Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense in Simsbury designs products that help ignite the rockets or separate other components on Artemis 2.
This one is special in the sense that it is the first human space flight in over 50 years.
A fact that is not lost on either company, getting to be one small step in the giant leap of landing man back on the moon.
It's really, truly an honor to be part of it.
Sense of pride, obviously, in being able to be part of this.
Artemis 2 is planning to launch at exactly 6:24 tonight. Your reporter, Owen Kingsley, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.